witchcraft. So what we come to the conclusion then is that during the French Revolution, and by the way, what happened in the French Revolution? France rose up. It was the first civilized nation to rise up and say what? There is no God. There is no God. They outlawed the Bible. And what ensued was what was known as the reign of terror, where there was a period of just utter lawlessness, chaos. People were being killed in the streets, and especially any of the clergy and anyone who professed to be Christian was persecuted during this time period. And so we have this rebellion, the French Revolution that took place. Now, please follow me. Don't lose me on this. We have this revolution that is taking place, and really, because they are rebelling against what? The Bible, the two witnesses, the Bible tells us that this was a form of witchcraft. So we might say, in essence, what rises up out of the abyss? Witchcraft. Designed to turn our minds away from the two witnesses. Now you say, Pastor, what does the French Revolution have to do with me today? And let me answer you from the book Education, page 228. Ellen White says here, the spirit of unrest, of riot and bloodshed, the worldwide dissemination of the same teachings that led to the French Revolution, all are tending to involve the whole world in a struggle similar to that which convulsed France. Such are the influences to be met by the youth of today. So let's see, how many youth do we have in here today? None. Wow. Amazing. All right. Let me try. How many youth do we have in here today? All right. All of you. Most of you. And we're being told here that the same things that led to the French Revolution have sprung out of the French Revolution, and that's what you guys are having to face today. And many of you are saying, well, I barely know anything about the French Revolution. What kind of principles am I dealing with today that actually sprung out of the French Revolution? That's what we're going to take a look at this morning. We're going to take a look at 7 spells that sprung out of the French Revolution. And let me tell you, these things are amazing. When you actually do the research and see that these things are so, you begin to understand that the devil, though he does things that looks like it's just confusion, the devil is a master of what kind of confusion? Organized confusion. All right, so let's take a look at spell number 1. Spell number 1, if you're writing these down, that's an excellent idea. Spell number 1 was called transformism. Anybody ever heard of that term, transformism? Anyone? All right. Transformism was introduced by a scientist by the name of J.B. Lamarck that lived during the French Revolution. He was a supporter of the French Revolution. And what transformism taught was that man was not created man, but he was at first an amoeba or something like that. And as time went on, that little thing transformed and continued to transform until man became what he is today. And you say, Pastor, man, that sounds familiar, but you're calling it by the name transformism. Well, the reason why it sounds familiar is because if you ever heard of a man by the name of Charles Darwin got his teachings from the scientist J.B. Lamarck. Did you realize that evolution was a spell? Evolution actually rose out of the abyss. Now let me show you just how much this rose out of the abyss. What does evolution do? Evolution teaches us, or actually takes us back to where? Back to the beginning. And says, hey, do you really believe what those 2 witnesses told you about how the world was created? No, 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 no. Let me take you back to the abyss and show you how the world really was created. There is no such thing as God. Don't listen to what the two witnesses say. Now, beloved, if I were to ask you, is this teaching, this spiritualistic witchcraft teaching called evolution, is this something that is that our children or that you are warring against in schools today? Would you say, yes, that is something? Little did you realize that this thing actually sprung out of the French Revolution, or the beast from the abyss. You see, evolution eliminates the need for a cross. See that? Jesus says, an eye if I be lifted up will do what? Draw all men. What evolution says, man, we've got to, the beast says, or the devil says, we got to do something to stop the power of the cross from drawing all men. So boom, evolution. And when evolution comes upon the scene, then there's no need for a savior because we're just animals. And if we're just animals, what is salvation? We don't need to be saved from anything. So we find this war against the cross. But the plot thickens, beloved, because let me tell you that many Christians, I don't think there's any Christian that falls for most Christians understand evolution is pure foolishness. That it doesn't add up. And you find a lot of Christians out there that are just fighting against evolution and trying to prove that it's wrong. And, we're caught up in this war against evolution. But I have come to see that the devil is using the evolution as a ploy for another type of evolution that is his real weapon. See, listen, evolution, one of the main tenets of the teaching of evolution is something called adaptation. Called what? Let me read it to you. The definition of adaptation: an alteration or adjustment in structure or habits, often hereditary, by which a species or individual improves its condition in relationship to its environment. So in other words, what Darwin taught was that as the environment changes, this is evolutionary teaching, as the environment changes, the species adapt in order to survive in that environment. And we go, no, we don't believe that because, you don't see a half man, half monkey. You don't see a half horse or whatever. We go through that whole argument. But I want to suggest, could it be possible that while the physical is not true, the spiritual is? Could it be possible that the devil has said, if I can manipulate the atmosphere, the species, who are the species? You. If I can manipulate the atmosphere, could it be possible that I can actually get the species in order to fit in to begin to adapt? And I say this jokingly, but I mean it. One time I did not believe in evolution, but now I do. I'll explain. At one time, I did not believe that there was any such thing as cross species, as, you don't see a half man, a half monkey, but now I'm seeing evidence of evolution. I'm seeing those who are supposed to be fully formed Christians that look like the world. How many of you have seen the evidence of evolution? We're beginning to see it, beloved, in our church, and it's an amazing thing because it's happening right underneath our noses. And so what we find here, this first spell of transformism or evolution, as the devil understands, as he begins to say, okay, if I utilize Hollywood, if I utilize the entertainment industry, if I utilize the schools, if I utilize philosophies and change the atmosphere, many of these people will succumb to atmospheric pressure. They missed it. Pure atmosphere. Okay, let's make sure you got that one. So, in order to survive, we begin to adapt. In order to survive, we begin to try to fit in. What we're going to see is that this beast that rises out of the abyss sends out 7 spells that is his attempt to manipulate the atmosphere so that the species will change. And by the way, for those species that did not change, you ever heard of survival of the fittest? It said that those species that did not change would what? Would die off. What do you think the devil's plan is? Manipulate the environment so much so that if